Today's radio KD8TTE is going to take a look at one aspect of the Black Swan 20 exercise, that is the receipt and relay of a message from the Integrated Public Alert and Warning System. This was done for the first time ever, going only RF. Stick around.
Black Swan, Black Swan.
One aspect of the Black Swan 20 exercise was a proof of concept to relay and deliver via amateur radio an IPAWS message. That is one that came from the Integrated Public Alert and Warning System. This is the first time that this has ever been done, so let's take a look at what we did in the Ohio section. The Integrated Public Alert and Warning System is where you have a messaging authority, an EMA, for example, or the President of the United States, as another example, has a message to get out. So the idea is to have one message that will go to as many people as possible in a particular area to save lives and to protect property. The distribution goes through pathways, and there are several of them. The emergency alert system, of course, is one of them. The wireless emergency alerts, and then NOAA weather radio is another one. We were introducing in this exercise a new pathway. That is the use of HF radio, and then locally, amateur radio, that is within the section, amateur radio to be able to get the message relayed further using both RF from the HF spectrum as well as RF from the VHF bit of the spectrum. How did we actually do that? First of all, we had to build. We started with the review of what our past performance was in Black Swan 17, 18, and 19. We made use of what was already available in the ARES program and in the NTS program in the Ohio section. We also made use of NBEMS, the narrowband emergency messaging software that the league, the ARRL, has been pushing as a standard for us to be able to use for interactive use. And then we applied the existing practices and standards to the problem at hand. So we didn't have a lot of things to invent. The idea was to take a look at what procedures already exist in ARES and exist in NTS to be able to put these pieces together. The next thing that we had to do was to train. Training was all about building a concept of operation so we could say, okay, this is how it's going to work. And then we followed that up. Every week in the Ohio section newsletter over a period of about 14 weeks, I was publishing a new article talking about what it is that we were doing. We had this series of YouTube videos that we were doing. We had regular net sessions where we were able to practice what we were doing on air. And then we had the County Information Report Project 20, which was an activity that ensured that we had something to do every week that would allow us to see just how well it works when the rubber hits the road. Our training focused on messaging, the 4 steps of radio messaging: origination, relay to send it, relay to receive it, and then of course delivery. We talked a lot about that, and then we had that concept where we have something that comes into the section that would then be distributed down to districts, and then where the districts are going to take that message and distribute down to counties, and the counties would have work to do once they had the message, and then they would have a message in turn that they would either relay or that they would have to originate for relay, where it would go back to somebody at the section. We took exactly the same concept for Black Swan 20, and the only thing that we did that was at all different was, instead of it being a message that we had originated ourselves as part of this County Information Report project, we took an IPAWS message. So IPAWS has a lot of features, and it's a very robust system that is used by government agencies for messaging in emergencies. This is an example of what an IPAWS message actually looked like, and we were able to receive that in Ohio with an HF shares station. Once the message was in Ohio, we would then take it and format it for transmission using exactly the same standards that we had developed and practiced throughout the course of the summer leading up to Black Swan. So the question then becomes, how'd we do? I would like to acknowledge District 5 because they were the ones that actually were receiving the message. That's where the Shares HF station was, so we exclude them from the process of accounting here. But then otherwise, we had District 6, District 9, and District 10 were all participating. District 6 had 2 messages that they took and relayed in. We got a total of 46 messages in from District 9, 30 messages in from District 10, so a total of 78 copies of, or 78 messages were received by the exercise evaluator. Now we had only 6 unique messages throughout the whole thing, so the difference, of course, is that we have duplicates, which is exactly what we were going for. Not duplicates from the same station, but it shows that a message that would be sent at the Ohio section level would be duplicated, so each district would get it, and then each district would send a copy to each county. So that's what we're going for. It's a good thing for us to have that number of messages. Now, again, if we take a look at how we got to the point we were ready to do this job, we go back to the County Information Report Project 20. That is where we developed the concept and every week followed through with activity that was going to be exactly the kind of thing that we ended up doing for the IPAWS relay. What we're able to see is that there is correlation between those who are practicing and those who are able to perform. This is no surprise. So if we take a look, District 6, the number of unique messages that we had 1 from District 6. That is, we had 2 copies of a message from District 6. That's great. District 9, we had 5 of the messages were relayed through. District 10 relayed 4 of the messages through. So out of the 6 messages that we actually had coming in, we did in fact have all 6 come through, but we didn't have every district relaying every single message. So, of course, there is a correlation between the amount that we are spending in practice and the amount that we are spending in training versus our ability to perform. Like we said in an earlier video, Achillicus told us a long time, we do not rise to the level of our expectations, we sink to the level of our training. So with all of that in mind and seeing what it is that we did, I want to draw attention to something. When we're making these comparisons, we need to compare it to what we did before and to what others have done before. If we compare our numbers to what we did last year, it's an infinite level of improvement. This hasn't been done before. Not here, not anywhere. The Ohio section literally tested for the first time a pathway where a message was able to be distributed through RF only. No internet at all. We forced everything to go by RF. In so doing, we used the pathway of amateur radio. Again, that's the first time that this has been done, and we were able to do so on a scale that proves the concept does work. So absolutely everybody is to be congratulated for the participation in this process, whether you were part of relaying the IPAWS messages that got ultimately included in the exercise, whether you involved in early parts of the training but fell behind for whatever reason, or whether you were just watching to see how it works. Everybody had a role to play in making this a reality. Once we have completed the after-action report and the improvement plan, we're going to go into a lot more detail and have some follow-through over the course of the next about 10 months or so, but we are going to be able to highlight so far 5 things that are worth thinking about. Number 1 is activation. We had entire teams during Black Swan that were all ready to go and that simply did not get activated. The controllers had plans for absolutely everybody registered, but there were problems in the process of getting those activations taken care of. We were following all of the standard processes for doing that, but those processes did not work. So that means that we've got work to do in improving those processes. Again, I'm sorry to everybody who did not manage to get that call or didn't get the call in a timely fashion. We do have an option for anybody who is interested in replay, by the way, to participate so that you can perform those tasks and you can see how that actually works. So do make sure that you follow up if you are interested in being able to go through the Black Swan 20 message relay process yourself. We'll have the controllers specifically directing your teams so that we don't have to worry about any of that relay of instructions and all that sort of thing that was a problem. The second thing is coordination. We just had counties that never did manage to connect to tactical nets. Everybody was hyper-focused on messaging, which was a really interesting and surprising observation. We were expecting that people would be using all of the usual tactical means to get each other spun up and so on. And I think that that's related to the activation issues that we saw. The other is diversification, and by that I mean diversification of skill. We had some districts that were able to participate in the messaging exercises early on while we were dealing with strictly NTS, any mode radiograms. We had others that were able to take care of point-to-point messaging, and we had some that were able to do everything. Different activations are going to have different requirements, and if we are going to provide a message origination, relay, and delivery service, we need to make sure that we're doing so in a way that's going to fit the needs of the agency that's activating. Also, we need some depth. That is depth on the bench. We need more people, even in the counties and in the districts where they have the capability. It winds up resting on just a couple of operators in many cases. So this is going to be an opportunity over the course of the next year for those of us who have come up to speed to be able to improve ourselves, but also, more importantly than that, to show others what we have been able to learn and to help them see the kinds of things that occur and to help them benefit from our experience so that they in turn will be more capable operators and will get more people able to perform these functions. The last thing is doing these things in person is way better. We had a lot of people that were confused by having these video conferences that were simulating sites. Given the restrictions that were in place for COVID-19, I really don't see that we had a lot of alternative here. But hopefully by the time we get to October of next year, that's going to be all behind us and we can get people back together again. So what we would expect is that we would actually have controllers at every scene able to make sure that things are being managed, and that's what we'll be planning for as we are working our way toward the next big exercise. So, again, thank you for all of your participation. Watch for the after-action report and improvement plan, and get ready to start training soon, very soon. Before the year is over, we're going to begin the process of training so that we're going to get through the process of getting everybody up to speed where we want to be, understanding the kinds of capabilities that we need to have, making sure that our procedures have been updated so we don't have repeats of these kinds of problems. Of course, far better for us to discover these things in exercises than to have to face them when dealing with actual activations. It's not all about big exercises. There's only one great big one a year. And so we've got a lot of things that we can do and should be doing at the local level as we work our way up. So there should be seminars, one person talking to a group. There can be workshops where people are working together to build something up. Tabletop exercises. And those are all things that happen without even touching radios. That's all about talking about how things work in a progressive manner that gets more and more into the details. Finally, we get into the activity-based training, and that's going to be where we have drills. One specific procedure that we want that's going to be hands-on, that's a drill. We can follow that up with a functional exercise, which is going to be everything within a particular function, and that's going to be something that we're working our way through. Again, those are things that we can be doing where we get people on the air, we're working at the county level, and maybe even a couple of counties working together. And then, of course, the full-scale exercise. That's where we really make things scale up, so this is the full-on dress rehearsal. Black Swan is designed for that purpose, but only once a year. We shouldn't be doing that all the time. We need to have lots and lots of little things that all lead up to integrating all of those different skills together so we can get the job done when there is a big job to be handled. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for your participation. Please do like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you are telling everybody in your group about what we are expecting to happen as we're going to be developing these procedures, because we're going to get better than we already are, and that's going to make us much more valuable in our performance of service to the public. This is Radio KD8TTE, out.